Let's try to finish another sutta, not too long. Janavasabha Sutta. This Janavasabha must be one of the Buddha's disciples who died and was reborn as a deva. I think this is King Bimbisara of Magadha, I think. Okay. Thus have I heard. Once the Lord was staying at Nadika at the brick house, and at that time the Lord was explaining the rebirths of various devotees up and down the country who had died and passed away. Kasis and Kosalans, Vajyans and Malas, Chetis and Vangsas, Kurus and Panchalas, Machas and Surasenas, saying, this one was reborn there, and that one there. More than 50 Nadikan devotees, having abandoned the 5 lower fetters, were reborn spontaneously and would attain Nibbana without returning to this world. Over 90 of them, having abandoned 3 fetters and weakened greed, hatred and delusion, were once returners, who would return to this world once more and then make an end of suffering. And more than 500, having abandoned 3 fetters, were stream winners, incapable of falling into states of woe, certain of Nibbana. This news reached the ears of the devotees in Nadika, and they were pleased, delighted, and filled with joy to hear the Lord's replies. And the Venerable Ananda heard of the Lord's report and the Nadikan's delight. And he thought, there were also Magadhan disciples of long standing who have died and passed away. One would think Anga and Magadha contained no Magadhan disciples who had died. Yet they too were devoted to the Buddha, the Dhamma and the Sangha, and they observed the discipline perfectly. The Lord has not stated their destiny. It would be good to have a declaration about this. It would make the multitude have faith and so attain a good rebirth. So the Venerable Ananda continued thinking. Now King Sinya Bimbisara of Magadha was a righteous and lawful king, a friend of Brahmins, householders, town and country dwellers, so that his fame is spread abroad. That righteous king of ours is dead, who gave us so much happiness. Life was easy for us who dwelt under his righteous rule. And he was devoted to the Buddha, the Dhamma and the Sangha, and observed the discipline perfectly, or Sila. Thus people say, King Bimbisara, who praised the Lord to his dying day, is dead. The Lord has not declared his destiny, and it would be good to have a declaration. Besides, it was in Magadha that the Lord gained his enlightenment. Since the Lord gained his enlightenment in Magadha, why does he not declare the destinies of those who have died there? For the Lord not to make such a declaration would cause unhappiness to the Magadhans. Such being the case, why does not the Lord make such a declaration? And after thus reflecting in solitude on behalf of the Magadhan devotees, the Venerable Ananda rose at the crack of dawn, went to the Lord and saluted him. Then sitting down to one side, he said, Lord, I have heard what has been declared concerning the inhabitants of Nadika, etc. They were all devoted to the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha, and they observed the Sila, or discipline, perfectly. The Lord has not stated their destiny. Why does not the Lord make such a declaration? Then having thus spoken to the Lord on behalf of the Magadhan devotees, he rose from his seat, saluted the Lord, passed him by to the right and departed. As soon as Ananda had gone, the Lord took his robe and bowl and went into Nadika for alms. Later, on his return, after his meal, he went to the brick house, and having washed his feet, he went in, and having thought over, considered and given his whole mind to the question of the Magadhan devotees, he sat down on the prepared seat, saying, I shall know their destiny and future lot, whatever it is. And then he perceived the destiny and fate of each one of them. And in the evening, emerging from meditative seclusion, the Lord came out of the brick house and sat down on the prepared seat in the shade of his lodging. Stop here for a moment. So here, Venerable Ananda is asking the Buddha to talk about the Magadhan devotees who have passed away, where they are reborn. So you see here the Buddha, to consider this, he sat down in meditation, then he considered, then only he knew. The Buddha says in the suttas that he does not know everything automatically. What he wants to know, he has to contemplate. And sometimes he must contemplate for many hours. Then only he gets to know what he wants to know. Like for dependent origination, the Buddha mentioned to understand dependent origination, he spent 12 hours, from 6 p.m. until 6 a.m. The whole night he was sitting in meditation and contemplating and using his psychic eye also to see and understand dependent origination. So the Buddha does not know everything automatically. He has to contemplate to know. Then the Venerable Ananda came to the Lord, saluted him, sat down to one side and said, Lord, the Lord's countenance looks bright and shining, showing that the Lord's mind is at ease. Has the Lord been satisfied with today's lodging? Ananda, after you spoke to me about the devotees of Magadha, I took my robe and bowl and went into Nadika for alms. Later on, I went to the brick house and considered the question of the Magadhan devotees, and I perceived the destiny and fate of each one of them. Then the voice of a yakka who had passed over cried out, I am Janavasabha, Lord, I am Janavasabha, wayfarer. Well, Ananda, do you know anyone who formerly bore the name of Janavasabha? And remember, Ananda said, I must admit, Lord, that I have never heard such a name. And yet on hearing the name Janavasabha, my hair stood on end, and I thought, he whose name is Janavasabha will not be such a low-ranking yakka. Ananda, immediately after I heard this voice, the yakka appeared to me as a noble vision and uttered a second cry, I am Bimbisara, Lord, I am Bimbisara, wayfarer. I have now for the 7th time been reborn into the entourage of the Lord Vesavana. Thus, having passed away as a king of humans, I have now become among the Devas, a king of non-human beings. 7 states here and 7 there, 14 births. That's the tally of lives I can recall. Stop here for a moment. So this King Bimbisara is the king who was killed by his son. The son, Ajatasattu, wanted to become king. As we heard in the second Digha Nikaya Sutta, Samanya Pala Sutta, this King Ajatasattu, to become king, he killed his father. This is the father, King Bimbisara. Now he's reborn as a yakka, and in the Deva world, there are many Deva Rajas. Many Deva Rajas, just like we have many sultans. So he was reborn as one of the Deva Rajas, but under the Yakka king called Vesavana. The name of Vesavana. That's another name. Forgot. For a long time, Lord, I have known myself to be exempt from states of woe, and now the desire arises in me to become a once-returner. What he means here is that he has been Sotapanna. Now he wants to become a Sakadagamin. I said, it is amazing, it is astonishing that the Reverend Yakka Janavasabha should say this. On what grounds can he know of such an august specific attainment? And this Yakka said, not otherwise, Lord, not otherwise wayfarer than through your teaching. From the time when I became fully committed and gained complete faith, then from then on, Lord, for a long time I have known myself to be exempt from states of woe, and the desire has arisen in me to become a once-returner. And here, Lord, having been sent by King Vesavana on some business to King Virulhaka, I saw the Lord entering the brick house and sitting down and considering the question of the Magadhan devotees. And since I had only just heard King Vesavana announce to his assembly what those folks' fates were, it is no wonder that I thought, I will go and see the Lord and report this to him. And these, Lord, are the 2 reasons why I came to see the Lord. So here he says he was sent by this king of the Yakkas, King Vesavana, to pass a message to King Virulhaka. He's another one of the 4 great heavenly kings. He's the Lord of what? The Gandhabas? I quite forgot. And Janavasabha continued. Lord, in earlier days, long ago, on the fast day of the 15th, at the beginning of the rains, in the full moon night, all the 33 gods were seated in the Sudhamma hall, a great congregation of divine beings or heavenly beings. And the 4 great kings from the 4 quarters were there. There was King Datarata, he is the king of the Gandhabas, from the east, at the head of followers facing east. The great king Virulhaka from the south, He's the king of the Kumbhandas, facing north. And the great king Virupaka from the west is the king of the Nagas, facing east. And the great king Vesavana is the king of the Yakas, from the north facing south. These are the four great kings. King Datrata is the king of the Gandhabas. Virulhaka Devaraja is in charge of the Kumbhandas. Virupaka Devaraja is in charge of the Nagas, the snake spirits. And Vesavana Devaraja is in charge of the Yakas. On such occasions, that is the order in which they are seated. And after that came our seats. And those Devas who having lived the holy life under the Lord, had recently appeared in the heaven of the 33, outshone the other Devas in brightness and glory. And for that reason, the 33 gods were pleased, happy, filled with delight and joy, saying, the Devas' hosts are growing, the Asuras' hosts are declining. Then Lord Sakha, ruler of the gods, seeing the satisfaction of the 33, uttered these verses of rejoicing. The gods of 33 rejoice, the leader too, praising the Tathagata and Dhamma's truth, seeing new come Devas, fair and glorious, who have lived the holy life, now well reborn, outshining all the rest in fame and splendor. The mighty sages' pupils singled out. Seeing this, the 33 rejoice, the leader too, praising the Tathagata and the Dhamma's truth. Stop here for a moment. These 33 gods in the heaven of the 33, Tavatimsa heaven, they are always at war with the Asuras. The Asuras are another type of heavenly beings in the heaven of the 33. But they are very undisciplined. These Asuras, they like to drink liquor and get drunk and fight, and they have a very bad temper. So we consider for a moment, how come these Asuras, they are of such character and reborn in heaven? Probably like now, among human beings, we have two categories of people doing good. One is those who practice the Dhamma, understand the Dhamma, and become Sotapanna and all that. And another category is worldly people, people in the business line and who have a desire to create blessings for themselves. So they do philanthropy, they are charitable, but they have a lot of faults. Because they don't understand the Dhamma, they don't know how to get rid of their faults. So these people, worldly people, probably with blessings, they are reborn as these Asuras in the 33 heaven. Whereas people who practice the Dhamma as well as do good, they are reborn as Sakadevaraja's following. So Sakadevaraja, he saw that the Buddha's disciples are reborn in the heaven with him. He was very happy. And he noticed that these who were followers of the Buddha, they outshone the other Devas. Their blessings are more. Maybe because of their meditation, because of their virtue. So they have more blessings. The light, these Devas, they judge each other by the light. The more light they emit, the more powerful. And more great their psychic power and all that. At this, the 33 gods rejoice still more, saying, the Devas' hosts are growing, the Asuras' hosts are declining. And then they consulted and deliberated together about the matter concerning which they had assembled in the Sudhamma hall. And the four great kings were advised and admonished on this matter as they stood by their seats unmoving. The kings, instructed, marked the words they spoke, standing calm, serene, beside their seats. Stop here for a moment. So you see here, when the 33 gods meet in the Sudhamma hall, and the four great kings of a lower rank, they have to be there. And when the 33 gods, they sit discussing, the four great kings have to stand in attention out of respect. They don't have the enough blessings to sit on the same level with the 33 gods. They must stand in attention, even though in their own realm they are very mighty and powerful. And then, Lord, a glorious radiance shone forth from the north, and a splendor was seen greater than the sheen of the Devas. And Sakka said to the 33 gods, Gentlemen, when such signs are seen, such light is seen, and such radiance shines forth, Brahma will appear. The appearance of such radiance is the first sign of Brahma's approaching manifestation. When they see these signs, Brahma will soon appear. This is Brahma's signs, radiance, vast and great. Then the 33 gods sat down, each in his proper place, saying, Let us find out what comes of this radiance. And having found the truth of it, we will go towards it. The 4 great kings, sitting down in their places, said the same. Thus they were all agreed. Lord, whenever Brahma Sanat Kumara appears to the 33 gods, he appears having assumed a grosser form, because his natural appearance is not such as to be perceptible to their eyes. Stop here for a moment. So, when Brahma comes to visit the 33 gods, if he assumes his normal form, they can't see him because he's a higher deva. His body is more fine than theirs. Just like we cannot see the devas of the 4 great kings. The devas of the 4 great kings and the 33 gods cannot see Brahma because he is a higher level. So when Brahma comes to them, he has to make his body a gross body. Then only they can see him. When he appears to the 33 gods, he outshines other devas in radiance and glory, just as a figure made of gold outshines a human figure. And Lord, when Brahma, Sanat Kumara, appears to the 33 gods, not one of them salutes him or rises or offers him a seat. They all sit silently with palms together, cross-legged, thinking he will sit down on the couch of that god from whom he wants something. And the one on whose couch he sits down is as thrilled and delighted as a duly anointed Khattiya king on assuming his royal office. Then, Lord, Brahma Sanat Kumara, having assumed a grosser form, appeared to the 33 gods in the shape of the youth Panchasika. Rising up in the air, he appeared floating cross-legged, just as a strong man might sit down on a properly spread couch or on the ground. And seeing the delight of the 33 gods, he uttered these verses of rejoicing. The gods of 33 rejoice, the leader too, praising the Tathagata and the Dhamma's truth. Seeing new-come devas, fair and glorious, who have lived a holy life, now well reborn, outshining all the rest in fame and splendor, the mighty sage's pupil is singled out. Seeing this, the 33 rejoice, the leader too, praising the Tathagata and the Dhamma's truth. So here he is saying that those who were reborn as powerful devas, they have lived the holy life under the Buddha. So they are the monks and nuns under the Buddha. They are reborn and outshine the 33 gods. Now, to the matter of Brahma Sanat Kumara's speech, and as for the manner of his speech, his voice had 8 qualities. It was distinct, intelligible, pleasant, attractive, compact, concise, deep and resonant. And when he spoke in that voice to the assembly, its sound did not carry outside. Whoever has such a voice as that is said to have the voice of Brahma. So his voice has these 8 qualities. And Brahma, Sanat Kumara, multiplying his shape by 33, sat down cross-legged on each individual couch of the 33 and said, What do my lords, the 33, think? Since the Lord, out of compassion for the world and for the benefit and happiness of the many, has acted to the advantage of devas and mankind, those, whoever they may be, who have taken refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha, and have observed the moral precepts, have at death and the breaking up of the body arisen in the company of the Parinimita Vasavati Devas, or the Nimanarati Devas, or the Tusita Devas, or the Yama Devas, or in the retinue of the 33 gods, or of the 4 great kings, or at the very least in the company of the Gandhabas. Stop here for a moment. So these are the 6 heavens in the sensual desire realm. The highest is the Parinimita Vasavati, and then after that Nimana Rati. These 2, their blessings are so great. When they think of anything they want, it just appears automatically. Then after that is Tusita, and then Yama, and then Tavatimsa, and then Chatu Maharajika. And then the Gandhabas are like servants. They serve the 4 great kings and the 33 gods. That's why at the very least the company of the Gandhabas. This was the burden of Brahma, Sanat Kumara's speech, and every one of the gods he spoke to thought, he is sitting on my couch, he is speaking to me alone. All the forms assume with one voice speak, and having spoken, all at once are silent. And so the 33, the leader too, each thinks he speaks to me alone. Then Brahma, Sanat Kumara assumed a single form. Then he sat down on the couch of Sakha and said, what do my lords, the 33, think? This Lord, Arahant, Sammasambuddha, has known and see the 4 bases of psychic power and how to develop, perfect and practice them. What for? Here among develops concentration of intention accompanied by effort of will, concentration of energy, concentration of mind, concentration of investigation accompanied by effort of will. These are the 4 bases of psychic power. And whatever ascetics or Brahmins have in the past realized such powers in different ways, they have all developed and strongly practiced these 4 ways. And the same applies to all who may in the future or who do now realize such powers. Do my lords, the 33, observe such powers in me? Yes, Brahma. Well, I too have developed and strongly practiced these 4 ways. I stop here for a moment. This Brahma, Sanat Kumara, was also a former monk. In some other sutta, I think in the Samyutta Nikaya, he mentioned this one. This was the burden of Brahma, Sanat Kumara's speech. He went on, what do my lords of the 33 think? There are 3 gateways to the bliss proclaimed by the Lord who knows and sees. What are they? In the first place, someone dwells in association with sense desires, with unwholesome conditions. At some time, he hears the Aryan Dhamma. He pays close attention and practices in conformity with it. By so doing, he comes to live dissociated from such sense desires and unwholesome conditions. As a result of this dissociation, pleasant feeling arises, and what is more, gladness. Just as pleasure might give birth to rejoicing, so from pleasant feeling, he experiences gladness. In the second place, there is someone in whom the gross tendencies of body, speech, and thought are not allayed. At some time, he hears the Aryan Dhamma, and his gross tendencies of body, speech, and thought are allayed. As a result of this allaying, pleasant feeling arises, and what is more, gladness arises. In the third place, there is someone who really does not know what is right and what is wrong, what is blameworthy and what is not, what is to be practiced and what is not, what is base and what is noble, what is foul, fair, or mixed in quality. At some time, he hears the Aryan Dhamma. He pays close attention and practices in conformity with it. As a result, he comes to know in reality what is right and wrong, what is blameworthy and what is not, what is to be practiced and what is not, what is base and what is noble, what is foul, fair, or mixed in quality. In him who knows and sees thus, ignorance is dispelled and knowledge arises. With the waning of ignorance and the arising of knowledge, pleasant feeling arises, and what is more, gladness. Just as pleasure might give birth to rejoicing, so from pleasant feeling he experiences gladness. These are the 3 gateways to the bliss proclaimed by the Lord who knows and sees. Stop here for a moment. So here Brahma is saying there are 3 types of people in this world, and after they have listened to the Dhamma, they change their ways. The first one, he gives up these sense pleasures, and he practices the Dhamma, probably means he meditates also. And then the second place, somebody who has gross tendencies, means a gross person, what we say, gu khe ngao ching, gross tendencies of body, speech, and mind. But after he hears the Dhamma, then he understands, he pays close attention, and then he practices the Dhamma, then he changes his tendencies, and then he meditates, pleasant feeling arises. And then the third one is an ignorant person, he doesn't know what is right, what is wrong, what is blameworthy, what is not blameworthy. This is like a lot of people in the world. We do a lot of things, we don't realize it is wrong. For example, hunting and fishing and all that. We think we are not harming anybody. These animals were made for us to eat. So it's because of ignorance. We do these things. Later when we suffer, and then we are shocked. Some people, when they after they die, they go to hell. They are shocked. They thought they didn't do anything wrong. So only when you hear the Dhamma, then you understand what is right, what is wrong, and all these things. And so you have to listen to the Dhamma. Here it says, we listen to the Dhamma with close attention, and then we understand. Then we practice in conformity with it. This was the burden of Brahma, Sanat Kumara's speech. He went on, "What do my lords of the 33 think? How well has the Lord Buddha, who knows and sees, pointed out 4 intense states of mindfulness for the attainment of that which is good. What are they? Here among abides contemplating the body in the body, earnestly, clearly aware, mindful, and having put away all hankering and fretting for the world. As he thus dwells contemplating the body in the body internally, he becomes perfectly concentrated and perfectly serene. Being thus calm and serene, he gains knowledge and vision externally of other bodies. He abides contemplating feelings in feelings, mind in mind, Dhamma in Dhamma, earnestly, clearly aware, mindful, and having put away all hankering and fretting for the world. As he thus dwells contemplating Dhamma in Dhamma, he becomes perfectly concentrated and perfectly serene. Being thus calm and serene, he gains knowledge and vision of other bodies, of other Dhammas. These are the 4 intense states of mindfulness, well pointed out by the Lord Buddha, who knows and sees, for the attainment of that which is good. Stop here for a moment. These 4 satipatthana, you practice them skillfully, correctly, according to the Satipatthana Sangyutta, you must attain jhana, must attain one-pointedness of mind. That's why here it says, he becomes perfectly concentrated and perfectly serene. Perfectly concentrated means attain Samma Samadhi. Samma Samadhi is the 4 jhanas. This was the burden of Brahma, Sanat Kumara's speech. He went on, "What do my lords of the 33 think? How well has the Lord, who knows and sees, pointed out the 7 requisites of concentration for the development of perfect concentration and the perfection of concentration. What are they? They are right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness. That one-pointedness of mind that is produced by these 7 factors is called the Aryan right concentration, with its basis and requisites. From right view arises right thought. From right thought arises right speech. From right speech arises right action. From right action arises right livelihood. From right livelihood arises right effort. From right effort arises right mindfulness. From right mindfulness arises right concentration. From right concentration arises right knowledge. From right knowledge arises right liberation. If anyone truthfully declaring, well proclaimed by the Lord is Dhamma, visible here and now, timeless, inviting inspection, leading onward, to be comprehended by the wise, each for himself, were to say, open are the doors of the deathless, he would be speaking in accordance with the highest truth. For indeed, my lords, the Dhamma is well proclaimed by the Lord, visible here and now, timeless, inviting inspection, leading onward, to be comprehended by the wise, each one for himself or herself. And 2, the doors of the deathless are open. Stop here for a moment. So you see, this great Brahma, he also knows the Dhamma so well, because he was a monk before. So there's some people, they want to be reborn in the Pure Land. If you go to the Pure Land, the Dhamma you learn is still this type of Dhamma that the Brahma is so familiar with, because there's only this type of Dhamma that will lead you to liberation, and no other Dhamma. All other Dhammas are low quality. The highest teaching of the Brahma, the Buddha said, in these 37 Bodhipakya Dhammas, the 4 Satipatthana, the 4 Vayama, the 4 Iddhipada, the 5 Indriya, the 5 Bala, the 7 Bojjhanga, and the Aryan Arya Atangika Magga. These add up to 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 7, and 8, add to 37. This is Bodhipakya Dhammas. So you see, the Brahma is so familiar with the suttas. He can describe all these higher Dhamma so flawlessly. And he continues, those who have unshakable faith in the Buddha, the Dhamma and the Sangha, and are endowed with the virtues pleasing to the noble ones, those beings who have arisen here on account of their Dhamma training, amounting to more than 2,400 Magadhan followers who have passed over, have by the destruction of 3 fetters become stream winners, incapable of falling into states of woe, and certain of enlightenment. And indeed, there are once returners here too. But of that other race indeed, that means the Anagamins, of greater merit still, my mind can make no reckoning at all, for fear that I should speak untruth. Stop here for a moment. So here, this Mahabrahma, he says that the Magadhan followers, 2,400 Magadhan followers have become stream winners, Sotapanna. And there are also Sakadagamins, once returners here. But Anagamins, he says he cannot talk about them. Why? Because Anagamins are reborn in the 4th jhana plane. And also in the Arupa realm, Arupa jhana realm. But since our Brahma is only in the 1st jhana heaven, he can't see the 4th jhana devas, so he says he cannot talk about them. This was the burden of Brahma Sanat Kumara's speech, and in connection with this, the great king Vesavana reflected in his mind, it is marvelous, it is wonderful that such a glorious teacher should arise, that there should be such a glorious proclamation of Dhamma, and that such glorious paths to the sublime should be made known. Then Brahma Sanat Kumara, reading King Vesavana's mind, said to him, What do you think, King Vesavana? There has been such a glorious teacher in the past, and such a proclamation, and such paths made known, and there will be again in the future. Such was the burden of what Brahma Sanat Kumara proclaimed to the 33 gods. And the great king Vesavana, having heard and received it in person, related it to his followers. And the Yakha Janavasabha, having heard it himself, related it to the Lord. And the Lord, having heard it himself and also come to know it by his own super knowledge, related it to the Venerable Ananda, who in turn related it to the monks and nuns, male and female lay followers. And so the holy life waxed mighty and prospered and spread widely as it was proclaimed among mankind. We stop here. So this is an interesting sutta, what the devas talk among themselves. They also discuss Dhamma. That's why it's not surprising when there's a Dhamma teaching that devas and devis come to listen.